Hey guys, welcome back to Mambition.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. We've got Tiffany here and Lady.
Alex Morgan. Hello.
Hello guys, welcome back. So happy Father's Day to everyone. I don't know, actually, is this a British thing for Father's Day? This
I
week?
think so. Because I know that Mother's Day is different here to the day in the States. But I presume they have one elsewhere. I don't know.
They do, but I don't know if it's the same date. It might be different. I
Yeah,
think
probably not. But anyway, it's British Father's Day today.
exactly.
So we are gonna celebrate the fathers in our lives.
Yeah, man. Got some, yeah, definitely. We're a little nod in their direction, saying, "Well done, guys. You're not doing too shabby." We won't
Yeah.
tell about all the things you don't do. We'll just talk about the things you do today.
Yeah, because I think, we've had a few episodes where our partners have inadvertently maybe had a little bit of bashing. So we're going to steer clear of that today.
I love that. No, but it's true. I think, I think what gives me peace in all this is like a fundamental understanding that just men and women are different. So I'm not. Whoops. I'm individual as an individual. I don't expect my husband to do certain things because it just doesn't cross his mind. So I think because of that, I now have the peace to celebrate him for what he does really well that I don't do, and the things that I do really well, and he appreciates what I'm doing. So it's just appreciate. It's just seeing it from both sides of the coin.
Yeah. No, I agree. What have you been up to this week since I last saw you?
Oh, Bosworth. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, we've been in Bosworth. So I know it sounds
Whereabouts is that again? I know you told me, but
Warwickshire. So we've been
Warwickshire.
away
Okay.
for the weekend to Warwickshire. We went on a break, and
There
I'll
are no,
say, yeah,
there are no breaks,
there are
Tiffany.
no breaks. I'll say this little story. So we at this hotel. I had daddy, my husband was working. I had the kids from, I don't know, they've been up since 6:30 in the morning. And I was just looking after them. He was working till about maybe three in the afternoon. So we're in this hotel, they're running around. I'm looking after them, and in my head, I was like, "This is not a break." But everyone will say, "Oh, how's your break going? How's your break going?" And I met this lady, and she was a mum herself. Was like talking about the children, and then she was like, "How's your break?" And I said, I actually gave her a hug. I said, "Thank you
In
so much."
inverted commas, rabbit ears
Inverted
there.
comments. Yeah, I was like, "Thank you so much for appreciating that." When you go work with your children, it's not really a break. It's just a different environment to do the same thing.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean you
childcare in a
can't have
different
fun.
location.
It's just childcare in a different location. And I think once you can kind of accept that, then you can manage your expectations and just go with the flow. But yeah, that was my lovely weekend. What about you?
My weekend has been less exciting. My childcare has just been in the usual place, but we haven't left the house. And the reason for that is we are potty training, which has been fun. Ted is quite resistant to potty training. We've tried before, and he cried at the mere thought of pants. Cried at the thought of going on the potty. So we waited a bit, and he seems more up for it this time. But that does not mean sorry everyone for talking about this in a public forum. He has done
So
several number ones on the potty and a couple of number twos, but we've also had some accidents, shall we say. There's currently a pair of dirty training pants in a bowl in my bathroom soaking, but that is not we're bigging up the men today. The person who's washing those pants is not me.
Exactly.
The
There
person
you
who's
go.
washing
So
those
yeah,
up
well
is
done.
Eddie, Eddie is the king of the laundry. And so I went to clean the bathroom and found them soaking in a little bucket. So well done, Eddie. Happy Father's Day. Glad to see you're on top of the really gross and dirty laundry on such an auspicious occasion as Father's Day.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, yeah, I mean, like, I love that Eddie's doing that, and he probably thinks that's the useful job for him to do in a way, or maybe something that is just naturally going to do. My husband won't do that. By the way,
he hasn't even mentioned that they're there. He hasn't made a big deal out of, I'm washing the pants. So I went in and just gave him a silent little round of applause.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think it's just about kind of appreciating what each other do and what you both bring to the table. Because look, the reality is that even today, I mean, just a shout out to even the single moms, because I think there's so many types of family set up, and for some reason or another, relationships don't work. So if you are a single mom today and you are, for example, maybe having a difficult day, just seeing other people and their fathers being celebrated, we just want to again give you a nod in your direction that keep up your good work. Life is not perfect, but we just make the best of it. And for those, there's so many different type of fathers, isn't there? So, I mean, I count myself very fortunate to have my husband. Is great. And yeah, we're just, trying to create this wonderful life and look after this little kids. So yeah, it's different for everybody today, I think.
Yeah, and I think you really see that, like when you look at maybe dads in our dads of people of our generation, I think they were a lot less hands-on.
Yes.
Maybe worked more, maybe weren't as good as, I mean, I'm generalizing here, maybe weren't as good at showing affection and things like that. And I feel lucky that times have moved on somewhat. And I know that that's not every dad, is it? Not every dad's great at being hands-on. But I feel like we're pretty lucky. We're both getting support right now, aren't we, to do this? We're both at home. It's the weekend, and Eddie's downstairs with Ted. He's probably sat on the potty right now. I hope so, anyway.
There'll be 2 pants to be washed.
Yeah, hopefully no more pants to be washed.
Oh, no, I love that. And I think it's just appreciating your lot in life. I think there is no perfect anything. And once you can look at your partner and not just criticize them, but think about what they do really well and celebrate them for that, I think this is a great starting point. So for me, it's been like looking at my husband. I think, yeah, he's not naturally inclined to just go and clean a bathroom. He's not naturally inclined to wash the dishes, but there's certain things he does really well. Like, for example, there was a weekend I had to work and he just took the kids out. Like, that's one thing I will say about my husband is that he's amazing at just entertaining the children. I know it goes without saying, people say, oh, you should do, but it's not always easy. But yeah, just took them out on a day out and did things with them, which I really appreciated. It wasn't this like big grudging, like, oh, I've got to look after them. Okay, fine, we'll sit here and watch telly. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about my husband. It's just this idea of being with them is an event for him. They're doing something, they're playing, they're running around, they're going to the park. He's going to take them over there. He's going to do this, go to the seaside. So yeah, I really like that.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I think as well, you've got 2 kids as well. And for me, even for me, the thought of taking 2 kids out, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So to just get out and get on with it, again, he's their dad. So fair enough, he should be doing that. But he's doing more than just the bare minimum. He's getting out and he's actually taking them to do nice things. And they'll really remember that as they get older as well. And like those memories will be super precious to them of going out and doing fun things.
There's been times when I've called him. I've been working upstairs and I'll call him and said, where are you guys? Oh, we've gone to this restaurant to eat. And I'm like, what? I he's like that. And I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out. Then you start feeling this mom guilt of, should I be there? Am I missing out? It's a lot of crazy out here.
Oh, that's super cute.
Yeah,
Little dinners with
that.
them.
He's so, yeah, my husband's so, I don't know how to explain it. But I really appreciate that because I think it's not just this, like I said, bare minimum. And I think, look, I'm not going to get into my relationship with my dad and growing up. But again, that was another generation. And I think it's just you the things you didn't, sometimes you don't get as a child. You appreciate in a father that for your children. And this is why, one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for the partner I have. And I wouldn't say I chose, I mean, we all make different choices, but this is one of the best choices I've made, definitely. Who fathers my children and kind of, defines their life. Yeah, it's important. But yeah, what about you and with your partner and how the dynamics are in that way?
Yeah, I mean, we've been together such a long time. We've been together since like 2006, I think. So like a long time, like nearly 20 years. So we know each other incredibly well. Like quite often we will go to do, like we'll message each other with the same thing at the same time, or we'll be like, oh, did you hear about this? Because we, I guess, have known each other for such a long time, we almost like finish each other's sentences. We're quite different people. Like I am the more outgoing one of the two, and I'm also Eddie can be a bit of a worrier, whereas I am typically more laid back. And I think it's quite good in terms of our dynamic with Ted as well. Bizarrely, for somebody who is quite assertive, I'm a bit more of a pushover when it comes to Ted. I'm definitely like the one who just wants to like let him have the new toy or do this and do that. And Eddie's the one kind of reining me back in. And I think therefore our personalities kind of complement each other. But I feel like, and maybe he won't like me saying this, but I'm like the fun parent. I'm more willing to play, and I'm more willing to do certain elements of playing. I prefer to be making something or doing something. I find pretending to play quite difficult. And I feel like no matter how I interact with the toys, it's not right. Like Ted's always like, no.
Really?
I'll like move a toy to somewhere and he's like, no, it doesn't go there. And I'm like, but it's an imagination game. It can go anywhere I want it to go. And he's like,
no, there are still parameters to this playing.
So I find that element of play quite frustrating, but I'll still do it. But I feel like Eddie is the more serious parent sometimes and like has more rigid ideas of how things should be. And I don't know whether it might be an ADHD thing that I'm a bit more all over the place and like, but why? Why do we have to do it like that? But yeah, I think he's a hands-on parent, and he generally will take Ted to do something like quite physical. So he compressed his hours, again, to kind of big him up. He took a bit of a hit, so he works until 8 o'clock a lot of evenings so that he can be off on a Wednesday to do childcare, because I work like a traditional full-time work week. So he'll take him to the park. We'll take him to do all sorts of like fun physical things. He's really excited that the leisure centre's reopening just down the street from us, and it's got like a big soft play and stuff like that. So that's reopened now, and he's really excited to get Ted there on a Wednesday to play in the soft play with him and stuff. And yeah, I think Ted's really into maths, which I can't stand, and Eddie's quite good at maths. So when we're being asked relentless questions about, oh God, times tables and stuff like that, I'm like, this is Eddie's realm. He needs to deal with this.
Oh, that's interesting. I love that. And I think this is it. It's what you said there, Alex, is about the complementing each other, and also how you're kind of the differences. Like you said, although you're quite a strong character, you're actually quite not a pushover, but you're quite lenient in certain things. But Eddie isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I love the balance, and I think that was reminding me of with me and my husband. I think one thing I've learned from my husband, which I really, really value, is to play in. I was brought up my dad played with us. I mean, our parents played, but in a kind of typical traditional Nigerian household where it's very, very academics. Like I just remember kind of like, go and study, go and read your book, everything. The Africans are like that. Anyone who's African out there, shout out to you guys, and read your book. You don't need to play. But so I feel like our growing up was quite serious. It's quite like a lot of studying. Like I remember, for example, I actually used to stutter as a child. I know, crazy, right?
Okay.
Don't shut me up nowadays. I stuttered a lot. I remember I was it took me a while to get how to write why. Like I used to write in other directions. I don't even know if I was sort of learning, it's difficult. And I remember like that was disciplined out of me. I know that sounds really sad, but like literally my dad would like, I don't say necessarily hit me all the time, but like it was quite a thing he wanted me to get right. And I just remember that intensity. It was super intense. Like I don't know if they would twist my finger or something, but they would do something just to make me not write it like that. And I remember it was just constantly like repeating, learning this, learning that. And I was just a child. So I mean, obviously, look, I appreciate that now. But when I look at my husband's very playful. He's just, the other day I had like pair of wellies on his head. The kids were laughing their heads off. I didn't know what he was saying to them, but they were like, and I'm like that with them now. Now, when I'm out with them, I'm running around and, doing a chicken dance. And that's not how I grew up. But I've learned that from my husband. Wake up, we're laughing. And I really appreciate that because I think he's brought this sense of having fun with the children and very proactive. So, for example, when
Mm-hmm.
we come out to somewhere like anywhere, I'm always interacting, I'm always singing to them. And people are like, oh, I've had a few people like comment on it, and I thought, oh, that's weird. Like, that's not something I knew how to do, but I've learned it from my husband. And I'm really grateful because I think childhood is about fun. I really do think
Yeah.
like time in your life when you don't have to study, but you're learning, you're having fun. I think if my kids
Well,
can
you're
remember,
learning from
I
having
think this
fun,
is
aren't
it.
you?
Yeah, I just want him to look back and remember the laughter of childhood. I don't want him to think
Mm-hmm.
it was just serious. Like mine was quite serious, but I want theirs to be like they just laughed their heads off, and their parents were so silly and fun. That's important. And
Oh, that's so nice.
I've learned that from my husband. I really appreciate that. I do.
Have you got any of that feeling about like being really into education for them, or is that it, like has that shaped you? Have
I
you
feel
gone
like
the other way, or?
essentially, yeah, I was thinking about it. I think I'm at midpoint with education and being serious. I read somewhere that I don't know if it's Swedish or Nordic culture. They don't actually really teach kids. They don't take like education seriously up until like 6 or 8. And I also heard
Mm-hmm.
it from I don't know if it's Chinese culture in schools. They just like rest during the day. The kids will walk around and do different activities, but they don't learn until like 6 or 8. And it actually doesn't have a negative impact on their learning later on in life. So
Mm-hmm.
with all that, with my kind of strictness growing up, I'm quite in the middle now. I think I'm always going to be. I think sadly, I'm got this. It's education. I think education is very important,
Yeah.
but I don't think it needs to start super early in an intense way. I think it's, for example, my son loved trains. To me, the joy of that is I'm going to take him to every train museum as physically possible until he's bored of trains. And to me, that's learning. So that's how I see it more so than this kind of strict, let's sit down and do our times table. But yeah, I've definitely changed
Yeah.
my mind about that. It should be fun. It should be what they have an interest in. That's more
Yeah,
fun.
I really like that of like following their interest. And so my parents were quite into education and that
Oh,
side
yeah.
of things, but it was mostly from a point of view. And like I realize now, having realized I have ADHD, I wasn't just being a pain. I like my parents used to go to my parents' evening and then come back and be like, the teachers all shouted at us. They were like, you're clever, but you don't do any work. You've lost all your stuff. And I mean, the not doing my work thing was a really big deal. I just wouldn't do it. And at the time, I think I thought I wanted to do it, but I couldn't make myself. And I realize now that that's very typically ADHD, but it was like completely missed when I was younger. ADHD was something that was about naughty boys. It didn't cross their minds really. It wasn't an actual diagnosis until I think like the mid 90s, maybe even 2000. And they didn't diagnose it in girls, so that was missed. So I had a lot of similar stuff of being made to sit at a table and learn times tables and crying and arguing with my parents over it. And yeah, that I found really hard as a kid because, you do just want to go and play. You do just want to go and do your thing. And I feel like there's kind of room for the education system to catch up a bit. Like if you go to a museum, they're really interactive, they're really fun, and the kids enjoy it. But then school's all about like sitting there and like learning stuff. Maybe I have a false impression of what school's like nowadays, but I feel like it could be made more fun and the kids would get more out of it.
Yeah.
But I really like what you're saying about, the kind of joy that is coming from, like Mark's way of parenting.
Definitely. I think that's, yeah, because you just kind of observe.
I've seen him be quite a fun, silly parent.
It's just a clown. I think I just married a clown. That's what it is. No, but it's really cool. And yeah, and I think also it's just overall he's complimentary. And I think again, life is what you make of it. I think it's fundamentally. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some people just really lazy and think, oh God, this is so lazy. But I think it's just about whatever choice you make, look at it, because I believe that life is not about our experiences, it's what we think about our experiences. So as much as I can sit down and go, oh, you haven't cleaned a bathroom, like my husband would never wake up in the morning and look at the dishes and go, oh, those dishes need to be cleaned. And that's just not because he doesn't care. It's just, it doesn't see. I've noticed that he just does not see these things. And because I've accepted that he doesn't, I would ask, or I would do it myself, or I would just allow him to play to his strengths. And I think that's just how you have a better life. And I'm much happier for that. Just appreciating that we're different. He doesn't see the dishes. He doesn't look at bathroom and go, "Oh, that's dirty." Never.
I appreciate like the power of asking, though. I think we've talked about this before, that like rather than just seethe about it, and I get that you shouldn't have to, it should come from the other person, but at the same time,
No, it doesn't always.
the choice is like you have to do it yourself, or leave it to be a mess and be angry about it,
Yeah.
or you could just say, "Can you clean the bathroom?"
This is it.
Like, you know, I hope that in a few decades' time, women won't be having to say, "Can you clean the bathroom?" but ask, and you don't have to do it all. It doesn't all have to be you. And so
Yeah.
I agree with the power of asking.
No, I agree with that, because I think sometimes, I mean, I've always been my communications, I've always been a little bit passive aggressive, if I'm being completely open about communicating. So I would assume that this person can read my mind and they haven't done what I wanted. So, they must have these bad thoughts about me. So I'm going to go off with it and see it and be quiet. And he's just like, "Oh, I didn't know I did that." So it's really interesting once you start to observe your behavior and observe about just opening your mouth and asking for things, like you said, it can change your life.
Well, so when we were getting married, we had to go to because we got married in a Catholic church. Like
Yes, of course.
like my family are really Catholic. We got married in a Catholic church. We had to go to the marriage preparation course.
A shout out to the marriage course.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, where fortunately, so the priest who did ours converted from being an Anglican. So he is a married Catholic priest, which is quite unusual, and he has kids. But I quite like that at the marriage preparation thing, because I was like, at least this guy knows what he's talking about. Like he's actually married, he gets it. But the reason I'm talking about this is Eddie, we had to write, I can't remember what I wrote about Eddie. Maybe I should, given this is the Father's Day episode, but we had to write nice things about each other, things that we admired about the other person. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember any of the others, but Eddie had written on mine, "She doesn't take any shit."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, you like that about me? That's good." And I've remembered that. So I'll just be like, "I need you to do this. You need to do that." No, I secretly think even if he looks like he's not enjoying it, he wrote down that he likes that about me. So
I love that. Forever. He's got this card.
He's got, yeah.
That's such a cool
You gave
one.
me the green light to be pretty assertive.
I love that. Oh, wow. Okay.
I was unfolding it, and I think the others were all a lot nicer than that. And then I was like, "Whoa, she doesn't take any shit."
No, but I think that's important. I think, you're right about just like communicating things. Another thing I appreciate about my husband, I think he's just, I said my husband's very loving, again, very loving, very kind. And I think it's all the things that allows me to be me, and he respects that I want a career, I want a life, and he really supports me. And again, it doesn't have to, someone might listen to this and say, "Well, it should be," but hey, everyone's different, and you just have to kind of, again, look at who you're with and find, good qualities in them and really appreciate that. And I feel like personally, my husband Mark goes above and beyond in just really appreciating me and allowing me to live my goals and live my dreams. Mm-hmm. And I think that's quite important, because otherwise it would be a struggle if someone was like in the way. And he really believes in me. I think that's nice too.
Yeah, and that's obviously got to help with your own self-belief as well. And I think knowing you have that support is an amazing thing. And definitely it's not something that everyone has as well. I think, there'll be people listening to this who don't have that support or can't take that for granted, that somebody is rooting for them. And I think, that's something that we'll explore in a future podcast, I think, of how like people have different challenges, but I guess how people, we were talking to someone the other day who's going to come on the podcast, who was talking about their journey, and they're a single parent and how tricky it can be to cope. And so I think that's definitely something we'll explore more, because we're talking from the point of view of two women with partners and I think that, acknowledging that it isn't easy for everybody is pretty important.
No, definitely. And I think last thing I want to say about, fatherhood and the role of that is, I have a little girl, and I think that your father it shapes your life as a woman. The relationship you have with your dad or don't have, and we won't go into all that because I think women, there's a lot of research around women choosing partners based on like even their like how they dealt with trauma from childhood and things like that. So yeah, I think I always look at my daughter and I know I can die happy knowing that she has an amazing dad. My husband will always cheer her on. He will always love her. Probably spoil her a bit. Daddy, can I have your card? Yes, and I'll say no. So, but yeah, he's such a. My husband's such a, and he's very and he's very supportive. And I think as a young girl to have a dad like that, I think she would do well. So that gives me a lot of joy knowing that she just her story will be written differently, maybe from mine, just because her dad is very loving and very hands-on and very protective of her. And I think that makes me feel very happy.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and I think that she's going to grow up as a really confident little girl. And I think
Oh, maybe a bit too confident.
I think confidence is really important, particularly for girls, because often they're not raised to have that confidence or to speak up for themselves. I mean, I think my parents did always, and like particularly my dad. I think I've mentioned before that I was once talking about how I'd done something brilliantly, and my grandparents were like, "Oh, you've got a sort of big-headed idea of yourself," and my dad was like, "No, she's done really, really well at this. She has got the right to be proud of herself," and basically like shut them down for. And so, I think that sort of stuff stays with you, of knowing that they do believe in you, even if they were frustrated with me for many years for me not doing what I should have been doing in school. And I think, I think as well, Ted is seeing quite a balanced relationship between two adults. And I think that that's really important. He's not seeing there being man jobs and women jobs and stuff like that. Like if he wants something fixed or mended, he will come to me and he'll ask me to do it. Another thing that's just sort of by chance really is that I drive and Eddie doesn't. So again, he's seeing like a bit more of a like non-gendered role going on there. And I hope that it allows him to not, I really hope I never hear him say the stuff that you used to hear of like, you can't do that because you're a girl. I will be really, really disappointed if I ever hear him say that.
That's interesting because it's the age where they start to kind of put boys in blue things and girls in pink and girls. That's interesting that he's now seeing kind of almost a different way. So anyone can do anything.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I really like that. Oh, that's okay. Cool. Anything else?
So, I mean, it's just by chance that Eddie doesn't drive and I do. But I think like, I'm not, I think that in quite a lot of straight relationships, the man becomes like the main driver by default, and I like quite often the man will do most of the driving, and I like that he's seeing something slightly different, and he's seeing me like the one stereotypical thing I probably do most of is I do all the cooking. But I know that you say Mark likes to cook.
Oh, he does all the cooking. So again, they see me making microwave meals and easy stir fry, and Daddy making curries and lasagnas and bolognese. So yeah, that's interesting actually. Like unknowingly, we're actually creating this all different sets of just experiences for them. That is cool. I mean, Mark does the driving though, so I love to drive, but I don't know if I can be bothered with that.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, you don't have to disrupt everything, but I think like you're showing them that like, I think I was saying something to him the other day. If anyone can do anything they want within reason, really, and it doesn't matter whether they're male or female. And I really hope that he learns that and understands that from a young age. And I really try and make sure that like in terms of toys and stuff like that, like he has a kitchen, he has Polly Pockets, but he has millions of cars as well. Like if he wants to play with something, like I'm never going to say to him, no, that's not for boys. And I really hope that he feels like he's open to whatever experiences, and that he's seeing that in that relationship that me and Eddie have got that's quite like equal.
Wow, pretty cool. Anything else that we want to cover before we wrap this up?
No, but I'll just shout out to Paul. Thanks, Dad. I'm awesome. It's largely to do with you.
I love that. I mean, sadly, I'm not going to do the same thing. I want to say shout out to my dad, but look, but shout out to my dad because everything I've experienced as a child and as a young woman made me this person, and I wouldn't have this person a different way. So yes, shout out to my dad for those things, because every experience shapes you for the better, for the worse. But I feel like everything I've been through in my life has made me Tiffany. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be me. So why would I want it to be different? So yes. And
Yeah.
shout out to everybody else who's listening, and enjoy the rest of your Father's Day.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.